Well, the weekend is coming to a close, but however, here we try to do what we can to make these reviews real more interesting and fun for everyone. So we're going to be reviewing three events from Saturday on July 8th. We have, of course, MLW Never Say Never, where we have, of course, the epic fight between both Alex Kane and Alex Hammerstone for the MLW World Heavyweight title. Of course, the tag team titles are also on the line between the members of the Calling against the Samoan SWAT team. We even got a double championship match in the women's division. We have, of course, Demi Elso, the current MLW Women's Featherweight Champion, taking on Ava Everett, who is the WXW World Women's Championship. And of course, we have plenty other matches we're going to be reviewing on that as well. And then, of course, we have Wrestling Revolver making their debut in Texas for Texas Toasted. So there is the Remix title on the line, but we have the first ever no rope pit fight between Mike Bailey and JD Griffey, who is a local wrestler in Texas. So we're also going to see wrestlers based on Texas, but also wrestlers from a promotion called MPX or whatever they call it. It's going to be real fun to enjoy. And then finally, we have for that particular day on the July 8th, GCW with Cleanup Man. We have the GCW tag team titles and the world title on the line. But we also will see the debut of none other than Utami Hayashishita taking on Billy Starks, which is going to be real fun to watch. And of course, in the end, we have Nick Gage versus Psycho Clown. And then after that, we do have ChocoPro with number 320 with three matches taking place. So it's going to be a lot of fun to review. And then, of course, we move on with some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing in, who's being booked, what matches are being set, any injuries, debuts, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So, let's begin with MLW's recent event in Philadelphia for Never Say Never on July 8th. It opened up with the MLW National Openweight title. Jacob Fatu defends his title against heavyweight hustle Calvin Tankman. I have to say this was you can call it a hoss fight if you look at it that way. I have to say, really good one. I have to say, Jacob Fatu has really impressed me very much, but also Tankman, another impressive wrestler. But one thing is for sure in this type of match, Calvin Tankman actually pushed Jacob Fatu to his limits. But however, he was able to defeat him when he pinned him after applying a twisting crossbody move, whatever he did on top of turnbuckle, and just like that. However, in the end, he showed a lot of respect to Calvin Tankman, who, as you know, Jacob Fatu is a family man. So is, of course, Calvin Tankman. So he can respect a man like him, knowing you're not just fighting for yourself, but you're fighting for your daughter. And I think that's a good thing to have. And I'm sure we'll see those two duke it out one last time. And I think that's going to be a fun match to watch. Now, our next match is a winner-take-all match. We have Ava Everett, who represents WXW, which is a German promotion, if you guys never heard of it. Yeah, there's a promotion down in Germany, one of the top ones down there, which WXW means West Side Extreme Wrestling. Ava Everett is the current women's champion in that promotion. She takes on Delmi XO, who is in fact the MLW Women's Featherweight Champion. So, winner takes all, and I thought this is really cool. But however, we kind of seen these type of things before, so I thought it was going to be interesting. But I felt like there was a bit of a slower pace in some moments in this match. Truth to be told, how I felt about it, but nonetheless, it was Delmi Elxo with the Delmi driver that put away Ava Everett to become the brand new WXW World Women's Champion. But now it appears that, of course, Delmi has to travel all the way to Germany to defend that title. So she's going to have a big workload to do. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, our next match, this is between both Timothy Thatcher and Tracy Williams, Hot Sauce. This is a very interesting matchup. Now, you can call it like it's almost similar to a Pure Rules match because these two guys are one of the most impressive technical wrestlers we've ever watched. I mean, we all seen Timothy Thatcher, I mean, where he wrestled. His style of wrestling's always been impressive, and so is Tracy Williams. But however, I was a bit biased because they're both incredible wrestlers in that type of fighting style. But however, the referee had to make stoppage of this match because Timothy Thatcher was already out. Basically, that was it, so they couldn't do that anymore. So that kind of puts it on hold for the time being. So, but however, Tracy Williams does pick up the win. Now, our next match is a country whipping match. Now, these two guys have been at it with each other all the way dating back from Battle Riot. Sam Adonis, the luchador rudo, taking on the Southern Psycho, Mance Warner. These guys have been going back and forth, so there was going to be a lot of mayhem in this one. So they were going to whip each other with some whips and just like that. But the most surprising is we haven't seen these two scumbags we haven't seen in months. And I'm talking about the Azteca henchman, Cesar Duran's men. We don't know where the hell they've been. The last time we saw these guys, they kidnapped Cesar Duran. I don't know what is going on here. It was kind of surprising. But however, luckily for Mance Warner, he had friends in high places. We have members of the Second Gear crew, Matthew Justice and the one called Manders, along with, of course, Mance Warner's newest bestie, Microman. So Microman did whip him with the damn stick, but however, it was Mance Warner with a knee to the face to Adonis to pick up the win. I thought, what a great match. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Microman either becomes an honorary member of the the Second Gear crew, or just a full member. I don't know. But it'll be fun. Trust me. Now, as soon as this match was over, apparently Sam Laurent, former manager of Microman, comes out saying that there is a new free agent making his way to MLW. And what a surprise. It's none other than Matt Cardona. That's right, he is coming to MLW. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes after either the National Openweight title or the World Heavyweight title. That's something I know for sure he would definitely want. I mean, he's been recently killing it in the independents, but we'll see about that. Now, our next match, we have the MLW World Tag Team titles. We have the Calling, consistent of RSP and Akira, taking on the Samoan SWAT team, Juicy Finau and Lance Noy. Now, this is a match they brought fans bring their weapons. Basically, they brought in all kinds of weapons to put them away. It was a pretty much of a brutal match that you could possibly imagine. You probably wouldn't believe it, and that sort of thing. However, it was, of course, the a Raven effect through the door by RSP to Juice that put away, and they became the new MLW World Tag Team Champions. However, just to make a note on this, Akira is the current MLW World Middleweight Champion. So now he's double champion. So he may have to pull double duties if there's any pay-per-view that features him defending both titles. That's something we definitely could see. Now, our next match is the main event, the MLW World Heavyweight title. This is between Alex Kane versus Hammerstone. Now, Kane, as you know, ever since this thing began with him, he stole the Opera Cup in hoping that it would give him a ticket to the world title, which of course it never happened. He was trying to hijack, pissing off Court Bauer, but apparently no matter what Court Bauer tried to do, Apparently, there was a mystery benefactor that had been helping him out. Now, we have no clue who that was. But the match was intense and very brutal. I mean, Hammerstone was fighting through his entire life because he knew that he was in for a big one. However, of course, Thomas was going to get himself involved to help Kane, but he got his ass whooped outside the ring. And then, of course, Kane applied the chokehold, and he had no other choice but to tap out, allowing himself to become the brand new MLW. So Bumaye are now at the top. However, the mystery benefactor has been revealed, and it's none other than boxing promoter Don King. Yeah, folks, you heard me. Don King was behind this whole thing. Alex Kane and the Bumaye Fight Club financially. So that's something that's been told. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, much like Hammerstone, that this whole thing with him will last a year until someone steps up and dethrones Kane. So the obvious thing is, who will be that one person? We'll just gotta wait and see until we get there. So I think that's what we have for MLW. I believe it's time for Wrestling Revolver. Okay, Wrestling Revolver, Texas Toast. As you know, this is the first show that Wrestling Revolver does outside of their territory, normally in Ohio or Iowa, I believe. So this was orchestrated not only with the collaboration with the Wrestling Revolver staff, but also with Texas native Matthew Palmer, the Monster Hunter, and of course, I believe his wife Athena, who you may know as the current ROH Women's Champion. Um, I think they have a promotion down there. I'm not 100% sure, but I've been hearing the name MPX or something like that. I don't know what that means from acronym and then wise, but it was a pretty good show, I have to say. What a great way to do a debut in Texas. So let's get started on that. Our first match, we have Rich Swann taking on a wrestler who's from the area, Exodus Prime. Don't know much about him, but it seems like the fans were really getting behind Exodus Prime in every fashion. But I didn't know much, but it was a good match. However, he did some sort of a move that the name is called Code something. What first thing was called, and I don't know what, but later to call it Code. But it seems like it was very impressive. So very interesting way to introduce new wrestlers I'd never heard of. And if you guys never heard of these wrestlers, that's the same thing too. So that's the reason. Our next match, we have, of course, two Texas natives we're talking about. The Monster Hunter, Matthew Palmer, taking on the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. Now, this, I have to say, is a good combination of a match. Because, you know, you got the Monster Hunter, you got the Murder Hawk Monster. So, basically, that's the same thing. One thing led to another. Palmer leaves the ring. He was trying to get himself fired up. He calls security. He tried to beat them all by himself. But, however, that didn't do any well until he started getting himself beat up by Lance Archer. But unfortunately, he did try his little potions, his potents, that would help him gain strength. But however, as time goes by, the potent, whatever he drank, wears off, and he's back to a normal guy. But unfortunately, Lance Archer applied the blackout, and 1, 2, 3, just like that, he was done for. But however, there was a good promo by Lance Archer, as you know, trying to have a little good promo. He, as you know, I mentioned this, both men are felon Texans, and I think that's a good way to do a good promo, knowing that these guys are from the state of Texas, and I think Wrestling Revolver should be proud that they have two people from that state, and that's a great thing. Now, our next match is called the MPX feature match. We have wrestlers that I never heard of, a guy named Tommy Becker and Carl Wright. Don't know much about them, but however, I did like how fans from the native area of Texas really got into this, because seemed like they were mostly backing Tommy Becker, and that's a pretty good thing. Tommy Becker picked up a good win when he applied the ankle lock onto Carl Wright and giving him the win. But I did like how Matthew Palmer, who is a Texas native, was able to, give the lowdown on each of the wrestlers. So he did pop out at certain moments doing commentary when it involves wrestlers who are part of the MPX. So that's a good thing to hear. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Zachary Wentz and Alex Shelley for the Revolver Remix title. So you probably can guess there was some good moments in that. There was a moment that Zachary actually used some weed smoke on in his favor, thinking that could stop Alex Shelley. But however, Shelley tried to apply the shell shock not once but twice. So that kind of sets it in. But of course, he with his dirty tricks also played out pretty well. And then, of course, the shell shock the second time that he applied also did pretty well on that. So he retained the title from that. Now, our next match, another example of wrestlers from MPX. We have the Children of the Scorn. What's his name? Tommy. Oh, is it Tommy? No. Yeah, Tommy Prince and Gabe Wilder. They take on, of course, the ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. As always, we always are impressed by the ABC's abilities as tag team. You know, it's been not only they're double champions, as you know, the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, and I forgot what the other titles are for. But as always, they always played pretty well until they applied the 1-2 sweet. It's over. They won the match. Now, our next match is a Texas street fight match. We have Ali Catch taking on Sami Callihan. As you know, Ali Catch, representing the unit, has been nothing but a huge thorn to Sami Callihan's life. Since Sami Callihan is the promoter of Wrestling Revolver, the unit has been nothing but a problem. Try to bend the rules in their favor to retain titles, to cheat their way through. But however, Ali Catch was taking a lot of beating into this match. Even Phil Stomper, or should I call him Fat Ass Phil, try to plead with Ali that she didn't need to do this. But I knew at some point that Fat Ass was trying to get himself involved in this match to ensure the match goes into Ali Catch's way until she applied the pile driver, and that was it. But you know perfectly well this will not end well. This will not be the end, because Sami Callihan will stop at nothing to destroy the unit once and for all. Our next match, we have Aaron Eagles taking on another fellow Texans, but you know this guy all too well. Limitless Keith Lee. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Ever since, as you know, AEW does allow their talent to wrestle independently. Unlike, of course, WWE, that will never allow them to do that. They've been doing that. However, this is a rare occasion from Keith Lee. The last time he was in Wrestling Revolver, that was about maybe a year ago when he was tag teaming with Swerve. That was the last time. But as always, Aaron Eagles trying to act like he's a hero. He wanted people to shut up, to stop cheering for, Keith Lee and cheer for him. But as always, Keith Lee was not going to let that happen until he applied the power bomb. So that was a pretty good well for Keith Lee, who's a fellow Texas native, to pick up a good win. Now, our next match is our main event. It's the first time ever in Wrestling Revolver, a no-rope pit fight. So basically, this is a feud between JD Griffin and Mike Bailey. Now, these two guys, from what I'm hearing, these guys have been in each other's faces before on certain times. But however, the venue where they were at doing the show, JD Griffin, on the other hand, is undefeated. But anything could possibly change. But there was a moment that I saw JD Griffin was trying to play a Lethal Weapon scene. Now, if you guys ever seen Lethal Weapon, whenever Martin Riggs dislocates his shoulder, he tries to bang his shoulder into either a post or a wall to put back in, and that's exactly what JD Griffin tried to do. But however, that didn't do so well until Mike Bailey applied the armbar, and of course JD Griffin had no other choice but to quit, and that was pretty much it. So it was over from there. But of course, there is the possibilities that we could see Wrestling Revolver make their way back to Texas. I don't know when or where, or if it's the same venue. We'll see. Only the time will tell when that happens. So I think that's pretty much it with Wrestling Revolver. Let's move on to GCW Cleanup Man. Okay, GCW Cleanup Man. This took place on the 8th of July at Hartford, Connecticut, just like MLW, GCW, so all three of them did this. However, this is a very interesting event because certain things really happen. Now, our first match, we have a four-way. We have Alec Price versus Brogan Finley versus Grim Reaper versus Dustin Waller. Now, this I would have assumed in some capacity this was going to be a good show, but the obvious thing to me, who was going to walk out? Well, as you know, I've always been impressed by Alec Price. He's always been very impressive when I watch him on GCW. He was able to apply his awesome kick known as the surprise kick onto Brogan Lee on Dustin Waller, my bad. Dustin Waller, and boom, that was it. He won the match. Next up, we have Wasted Youth, Dylan McKay, Marcus Mathers, and Jimmy Lloyd taking on all members of the Spanish announce team. As you know, the founders of the Spanish Fly. You know there was going to be a lot of high spots in this particular match as any way possible. I mean, as I said, the Spanish announce team they were the ones who created the Spanish Fly, and I think that's pretty good. However, in this particular match, it was a shooting star tombstone combined with Jimmy Lloyd and Marcus Mathers to pick up the win, and it was impressive. And of course, the Spanish announce team did show a lot of respect to Wasted Youth, and that really was impressive. Now, as you know, Effie shows up announcing his little surprise in Chicago for Effie's Big Gay Brunch. But however, he did not have a match in Hartford, Connecticut. So, however, he did ask for a match to happen. John Wayne Murdoch, the Duke, showed up, and of course, he was supposed to be in a match against against Cole Radrick, but Cole Radrick showed up. It officially became a three-way thanks to MLJ, who announced it. You know this match was going to be brutalized in certain capacity, but in the case, it was John Wayne Murdoch with a brain buster threw a chair onto Cole Radrick to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have the root of all evil, that sick, disgusting piece of garbage, Charles Mason, along with Pero, taking on Joey Janela. Now, recently, we have been seeing Charles Mason attacking Sawyer Wreck. We don't know what was the purpose. We know he sent his goon, his minion, Pero, to do his dirty work. So this became a war between the two of them. But however, I knew that because Pero was there, he was going to interfere. That's exactly what it does. But of course, Charles Mason, thanks to the help of Pero, he applied a tombstone onto Joey Janela to pick up the win. Now, when it seems like they want to finish them off, we saw an ECW original showed up, and that is none other than someone you guys may remember, Just Incredible. That's right, guys. Just Incredible was there. And of course, Charles Mason, who had no clue what to do, he ran like a coward, but Pero tried to deal with them, but he got kendo stick at any way possible. So basically, Joey Janela has, luckily for him, he had an ally, and that is Just Incredible. But if I was Charles Mason, I would hightail out of there. Now, our next match is a title match. This is for the GCW World Title. We have the return of Richard Holiday. Now, as you know, Richard Holiday, he actually is in remission. He was battling cancer. But of course, someone had to ruin it. He feels that, you know, the story is going to end with him winning the match. Screw the story about Richard Holiday, you know, and his overcoming a battle of cancer, all that, because he wants to make the narrative that this is going to end with him. And I have to say, Richard Holiday was not going to take any crap from him. And of course, he used the belt on him, on Bliss and Cage, as a taste of his own medicine when the ref was out. But as always, Bliss and Cage, Blake Christian did whatever it takes to retain the title. And then, of course, the stomp, just like that. And he retained it just like that. And of course, many fans were disappointed, but we were happy that Richard Holiday is back. We know that he had dealt a whole lot. So we'll see what the future holds for him in the future. Now, our next match, we have a three-way tag team match. We have Waves and Curls versus Yokai versus Los Macizos. Now, you know this three-way is going to be predictable. However, I knew the Macizos were going to use every tool as possible to pick up their win because they are the most aggressive tag team ever. That's why they are one of the best tag teams in GCW. They did apply the Doomsday onto Yoya. And of course, it was Ciclopse with the win by pinning Yoya. Now, our next match is the GCW World Tag Team titles. Unfortunately, they don't have the tag team titles physically because they were stolen by Brian XL and the Amazing Red, who decided to issue the challenge for those belts. But sooner or later, they will come across them real soon by next week. But their opponents they have to deal with is Gringo Loco and Char Cartwheel. You know there's going to be a lot of good spots, but I was hoping that this match was definitely going to end with the double cloud cutter onto Jared Cartwheel. And then as soon as the match was over, Nick Wayne put out a promo. As you know, we will be seeing him more often in AEW. And of course, people don't want him to leave GCW. But of course, the East-West Express is forever. And I think that's always been the case. So we don't know how this will play out, but we will follow along with it. Now, our next match, we have Billy Starks taking on from all the way from Japan in Stardom, Utami Hayashishita. So this is one of the first matches that was announced. As you know, did not expect this, but it was great that the Stardom and Bushi Road were able to make this happen. And I thought it was a pretty good match. Not to mention Billy Starks using the German, which was a simple move to use, even though Hayashishita actually tried it. But many fans seems like it was divided in half in this match with Billy and Utami. But Utami was the one who applied the torture rag bomb, finishing up Billy Starks, giving her the win. Now, our main event is Psycho Clown versus Nick Gage. You know this is going to be one hell of a match. Much brutal blood, with whatever they can do, whatever, pardon my language, fuckery they were going to use in order to kill each other. But it was, of course, somewhat of a reverse crossbody that gave Nick Gage the win. It was surprisingly that he won just like that. I think I don't know. I felt like there was a bit of a controversy the way this match ended, but we'll see how that goes. But Nick Gage won the match, so I think that's pretty much it for GCW. I think it's time to move on with our final review, which is ChocoPro 320. Okay, ChocoPro 320. This is their much recent show, and let's get started. As always, make sure to go open the show, give it the lowdown what matches are going to take place. As you know, they just recently had their latest Got to Move show. It hasn't been uploaded yet on their YouTube channel, so I think it's going to happen this week from what Balinaki mentioned at the end of the show. Just letting you guys remind, if you guys do follow Got to Move /ChocoPro, just get on it as soon as possible. If you have a notification, then you guys are good. Now, our opening match, this is, of course, the official debut in ChocoPro for Nonoka Seto taking on Emi Sakura. I have to say, this was a very interesting matchup. I feel like Nonoka has a similar attitude as Emi Sakura in some capacity. People booed at her for what she did, but I don't know if Emi Sakura likes what she sees. I mean, Nonoka is also a non-Emi Sakura trainee. Basically, she wasn't trained by Emi Sakura. As you know, Emi Sakura's been living here in the United States for a couple years. And, but however, this ended by a submission thanks to Emi Sakura. But I wouldn't be surprised that if Emi Sakura would like to take her under her wing, because, she has a similar attitude like her. I'm like, that's very interesting. Our next match, we have a very interesting match. We have Balinaki teaming up with Tokiko Kihara taking on the current Asian Dream Tag Team Champions, Shin Dragon, known as Shin Suzuki, and of course, Chon Chidu. Now, keep in mind, this is a non-title match. Now, if somehow Balinaki and Tokiko were able to win, they could get an opportunity shot for the tag titles. But however, a lot of spots in this particular match was everywhere. I mean, Balinaki was a bit more aggressive, Tokiko with a bit of the striking capabilities. Kind of worked in its own ways, but it did not until, of course, Chon Chidu applied a diving foot stomp onto Tokiko to pick up the win. So basically, Balinaki and Tokiko Kihara were unable to try to win this match in hopes to get a tag team title match, but that's how it rolls. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting one. We have Chiko Shikawa and Mei Suga. Now, these two have been rivals before. They fought before. Now they team up. They take on Sayaka and, of course, veteran Makoto. So that's a very interesting dynamic. But I was a bit more curious because Makoto is a much bigger individual than both um, Chiko Shikawa and Mei Suga combined. But however, that didn't wasn't a factor in those way. I mean, Makoto did have a lot of power in this particular match, but I think even though I have said many times Sayaka has grown up a lot since joining Got to Move from the very beginning, but she was able to hold her own. But unfortunately, it was Mei Suga who picked up the win by pinning her. So sad luck for them, but that's pretty much what happened. Now our next thing we have is the Jonkin tournament. I wasn't too sure how this was gonna go. I thought Mei Suga was gonna make it, so did Sayaka, but in the end it was Chonchiru who walked away with the win, so he gets the piece of chocolate. Go figure. Now, however, the next ChocoPro event, 321, it was now foretold that, of course, Emi Sakura, spoiler alert, said I did not see the latest Got to Move show. The main event features the Super Asia Championship between Hagane Shinoi and Emi Sakura. Now, Hagane was the champion. However, it was Emi Sakura who defeated him. So that means she's going to take that belt with her to the U.S. Now, she did say she was planning to do a ChocoPro in the U.S. Hopefully that comes true. But however, if you guys know the history of Got to Move, this promotion started not just with Emi Sakura, but also with Masahiro Takanashi. These two guys actually knew each other, met in Thailand. They were the ones that brought pro wrestling into Thailand, and now it becomes first circle. Now, if you guys know this or not, Masahiro Takanashi is the current setup pro wrestling openweight champion. So, on the next Choco Pro event is winner take all. The winner walks away with both the setup openweight title and the Super Asia title. So the obvious thing is who's gonna walk out. I can't wait to see that match. This is gonna be a very interesting because right now everything has come full circle between both Emi and Masa. So can't wait. So I think that's pretty much it right now with ChocoPro. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. Now, recently in Stardom, there has been talk about dream tag teams. Now, we're not talking about dream tag teams from wrestlers from outside the Stardom. Like, who would they like to team up in, that sort of thing. Now, there's one particular team that people are hoping for is Sayuri Onoi and Saki Kashima. That is a very interesting tag team. I don't know why, but it would be. But however, there's one that I don't know how you guys would feel, but I think some of you may agree that it's going to be interesting. Julia's dream tag team, surprise, surprise, is Zuzu Suzuki. So, as you know, there were certain people saying that Zuzu should join DDM, but I mentioned this before. Zuzu has no intentions. She wants to strike on her own, and that's how I see it. But we'll see what happens. Even Mina said the same thing, that she has a dream tag team. I don't know. I don't know exactly if they're trying to do like the same thing with the blind elimination, but we'll see. Now, in a much recent Noah show, All Japan's Pro Wrestling Junior heavyweight competitor Atsuki Aogi made a surprise appearance at Noah, and I had a feeling what was he there for, because I saw Hayata, who is the current GHC Junior Heavyweight Champion, there. Now, I often talked about this before, guys. If you guys know me too well, I said this, that I always find the Junior Heavyweight division in Noah more fascinating than the Junior Heavyweight division in New Japan. You probably asked me why. The reason I find it fascinating, when All Japan Pro Wrestling existed, Misawa was trying to make more credibility for the Junior Heavyweight division in All Japan, but there was lack of it thanks to Giant Baba, who never gave a good credibility for that. But Misawa made it a top priority to make it credibility. I mean, we had guys like Naomichi Marufuji, Kenta, many others who would have stopped, and that would make sense why Aoki showed up. He wants to bring excitement to the Noah Juniors. Well, we're gonna see how he's gonna do. Now, SoCal wrestler Slice Boogie has announced that he is now officially a free agent. Now, he was recently out on injury. He had to relinquish certain belts because of it. He was originally signed with MLW as part of LAX with Danny Limelight, but apparently that seems like it's not going to happen at the moment. He is no longer with the company, but we wish nothing best for the luck for him, and we'll see where he goes, and we'll continue to support him. Now, interesting matches have been announced for the upcoming West Coast Pros West Coast Cup. First, on the 10th of August, the West Coast Women's title will be defended. Masha Slamovich defends her title against Marvelous Ace Takumi Iroha. That's going to be a fun match, I know for a fact. And of course, we have the West Coast Pro Championship. Titus Alexander defends the title on the 11th of August, and he takes on Kevin Knight. So that's going to be interesting too. Now, our last thing, we want to give congratulations to two particular people, three actually. Our first one is we want to congratulate the engagement of Ashley DeBonce and Trey Miguel. They announced their engagement while they were in France. It's very interesting. I did not know these two were dating, but congratulations, Trey Miguel and Ashley. We're so happy for you. And of course, you may know this next person who just recently also got engaged. You may remember her, Sadie Gibbs. She was that one female wrestler from the UK who applied the corkscrew outside in Stardom. Who, as you know, Matt Jackson was the reason he had her signed to AEW. But unfortunately, she retired from wrestling due to the pandemic for what happened. But recently, Sadie Gibbs has been talking about maybe making another comeback. It's still no clearing when, but if she does, I will be happy because she never got the opportunity she got thanks to what happened to the pandemic. But we'll see what happens till then. I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, unfortunately, I was supposed to, for this episode, I thought maybe I can do 5 reviews, but I decided, just stick with 4. Amongst them was supposed to be the JCW event, the Big Bash Extreme Birthday. I think that's the one I was going to do, but I'll save that for the next episode. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do for what else I'm going to do. I mean, there's a lot of options that I haven't seen. There's still some shows I haven't seen from mid June all the way to now, but we will see what happens until then. But for now, we're just leave it as that. But we'll go from there. So I think that's pretty much it. But for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.